when did you decide, I'm going to start a publishing company? That's not the easiest thing in the world to
No.
do. And I love the name Turning Point because you really select people that are expressing different turning points in their life or in the lives of the people they write about or their photography or whatever. And so maybe you can do a capsulated version of how that occurred, and then we should talk about the books that you have
Well,
written.
very quickly, a childhood friend of mine is a fiction writer, and he was being published by independent publishers. And within several years, he realized that he wasn't necessarily getting the product he wanted, and so he did some research and found out that in these days with digital publishing, it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, it's certainly not cheap, but it's relatively inexpensive, and you're in control of your material. And so it kind of inspired me. And then when I left Middlebury 2 years ago, I felt I wanted to do something different, that drew upon all of my experience. And I was fortunate to have some resources. And when I did exploring on my own, I realized how affordable it was if you know how to do it, especially if you do print on demand. And so that's when I decided to do this. And at the same time, John Gruen, whose book this is,
and I'm going to hold it up and maybe flip through a couple pictures.
My New York is beautiful. Beautiful photo book. I mean, John is a Renaissance man. I mean, I worked.
And you did something with him, or he did something on 9/11 too. He did beautiful photos. You had them at Middlebury.
Yes, and some of them are in My New York as well. I did a big exhibit of it at Middlebury.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I knew him in my early days in New York, and I was his research assistant. We worked together for 12 years. And so I've known him for 43 years. And so when I came back, he was telling me he had these books and these potential book projects. And he was getting frustrated. And so I said, well, I want to try my hand at publishing.
One of my favorites.
And so these books, these photos were already there, and they just had to be assembled. And he wrote the captions. And he's, of course, a very well-known arts critic and journalist, and has written, I think, 14 books.
And let me pick up the Bernstein one because that's great too.
And then this one is
these are intimate family friend portraits
because
story.
He and his wife and daughter were intimate friends of the Bernsteins, and these books is about a pivotal period in Bernstein's life when he turned 50. So these pictures are all between 67 and 69 or 70. And so this provides this intimate view into the life of one of the most iconic figures of American culture in the 20th century, and they're quite beautiful. And his daughter Jamie wrote the preface, the foreword, and Jamie is there. She is. There's the family.
A great family picture.
Yeah, that's Lenny and Felicia, all of whom I knew, working with John.
I'm not doing
Jamie
that well, sorry.
and Alexander and.
Sorry, Mel.
And Nina.
Okay, great. Beautiful. So
I decided, because the material was already there and there were no royalties to pay because they were his pictures.
Right.
It was that cut costs, and but then one of the wonderful stories is getting back to Rosie.
Right.
And she was talking about that she had finally decided to tell her story about saving Radio City Music Hall, and she was talking about it, and I didn't want to say anything, but she knew that I had told her that I was starting this company, and she didn't say anything to me. But then Irene Fokine's daughter, who is still a very, very close friend of ours, like family, we're all like part of the same family, went to dinner with us here in New York, and Rosie was telling Donna about the book, and so Donna blurts out, well, why doesn't Andy publish it? And so right then and there, we decided we would. And
it's like, got a barn?
And here,
let's do a show.